Welcome to the OnlyFans Secrets Marketing Podcast. Much like a lot of you, after hearing OnlyFans announcements through the media on Thursday that they would be banning adult content, I went through shock, then resentment, anger, and then stunned disbelief. How can OnlyFans treat a community that has given so much with such disrespect? This episode isn't going to be about marketing strategies. It's going to be about betrayal and empowerment. It's going to be about setting higher standards, calling out OnlyFans for its awful business behavior, and hopefully preventing this from happening again. So the name of this episode is OnlyFans Betrayed Us All. And I appreciate everyone who's listening to this, especially if it's within the few days of this announcement, because I know for a lot of people, the name OnlyFans is likely triggering and in the toilet. You probably prefer to be thinking about anything in the world other than that company. So I appreciate you listening to this, and hopefully this can be a bit of a catharsis. So first, if you're not familiar, what happened on Thursday? So on Thursday, somehow Bloomberg got a hold of information that OnlyFans was banning adult content. This in turn got picked up by other news outlets who splashed it everywhere, including all over Twitter. Okay, so then OnlyFans creators scrambled to find any official news from OnlyFans itself, which did not come. So creators emailed support for OnlyFans, who denied the news reports and promised that explicit content will never be banned by OnlyFans. So this was all on Thursday. So creators have been faced with false reports before in the past. So a lot of them did not necessarily believe this. And there was a lot of information on Reddit basically saying, don't believe this. There was some on Twitter saying, yes, you should. And then other people were then going back and forth. So there was a lot of confusion on Thursday. So on Friday afternoon, the bomb dropped. OnlyFans emailed all creators saying they were banning adult content for the stability of the site long term. Okay, so obviously people panicked, and OnlyFans then decided to release a statement on Saturday. And boy, what a statement it was. They decided that Twitter was the best place to release this statement. And it started with "Dear sex workers." And I think that this tweet is going to go down in history as just terrible PR, if not one of the worst PR disasters that a company could do. But I'm going to read this tweet because it's so important. And it says so much about the company of OnlyFans. So the tweet, as I mentioned, from August 21st, 2021, "Dear sex workers, comma." So, it's kind of like a letter. It's like you would get a love letter or a letter from your friend. That's how they started the tweet. Now, again, that's important. They structure this as a letter, which who does that on Twitter? That's not how you structure tweets. Very odd. So again, "Dear sex workers, the OnlyFans community would not be what it is today without you. The policy change was necessary to secure banking and payment services to support you. We are working around the clock to come up with solutions." And then, like the cherry on the crap cake, they decided to then use the hashtag "sex work is work." Okay, it would take a long time to unpack this tweet And that's not what this episode is about. But I will say that most people found this tweet to be gaslighting, insulting, pandering, and BS. I spent a lot of yesterday just running through and trying to read as many of the comments and quote retweets as possible. And what's really interesting about this is how many people decided on a quote retweet. And most retweets are like, hey, we're just going to retweet this across Twitter so people can see it. No. Creators decided they were going to use their voice through the quote retweet. And I will say that the majority of those quote retweets had the F word in them. And while most of the time from a business perspective, you would say that's really not what you want to say back to your partner, a corporate partner that you're working with, that's how far it had fallen. So this would be like if you were basically saying to your boss, F you. And the reason why people are like that, and I will go over that, is because they have no affinity for OnlyFans, because OnlyFans has built no affinity with them. So the response, first of all, from OnlyFans, not understanding the community, how people with the creators interact with each other, taking no time to do any of that. As I've said before, OnlyFans just allowed all marketing, promotion, anything that was out there to be the Wild West, because no matter what marketing there was, it was benefiting them because it cost them nothing. So it wouldn't matter if it was bad promotion, good words, bad words, whatever. They just let it all just go on. They didn't care. And what happens when you do that is you create an ecosystem, and I'll go over that later. But when you aren't, respected or aren't shown respect from the company that you work with, everyone's been in a job that they didn't like, and everyone around them didn't like it either. So you create little packs, little groups within that business, and you're no longer working with the boss. You're working in your group, and you have a boss. There's a big difference between a team and that kind of situation. And that's a situation that OnlyFans has created. And so what they end up having to do is they basically have to write a letter that a terrible boss would write or an abuser would write, trying to justify their actions. And I will say that it's very interesting, referring to as the OnlyFans community. And everyone pointed out this was the first time that OnlyFans ever acknowledged in any way, shape, or form the term sex workers, or that those people existed within the community, or were the majority of the people on OnlyFans and the majority of their income. As I pointed out before in the podcast, they don't tend to promote anyone in that community on social media. On their social media with millions of followers that could really make a difference with people, they don't do that. Now, the next part, the policy change was necessary to secure banking and payment services to support you. That's my favorite part, to support you. I'll go over that later. They put the you in there. Again, they got blasted, and we are working around the clock to come up with solutions. I have to say that one, I think, was really bad. I think if they would have stopped this before, maybe at the end of to support you, and just ended it, because the next two statements about we are working around the clock to come up with solutions with no information about what these solutions are, and nothing that was in the letter or email went out acted like there was a problem at all. They basically were very 100%, this is why we're doing it for this reason. And now they come out a day later, we are working around the clock. With what? For what reason? Because they've stated the only reason they're doing this is because they just had no other choice. And as I said, the hashtag of sex work is work really, really is pandering and insulting. It's one of those things where you just throw at the end, like whatever you possibly can, that like popular hashtag that's going to make everyone go, oh, they're on our team. if you're not showing up, I mean, I'll say in our current society, being part of the team is very important. Like being an ally is very important. People don't take that lightly. So they don't say, oh, okay, someone's showing up to the party. Hey, somebody shows up to the party late and has great intentions. Come on in. But if you haven't showed up to the party, or you haven't showed up to the protest, or you haven't showed up to the meetings to make change, and then you come in and hashtag something, it's worse than if you just, shut up. And there are a lot of responses on this tweet that also said that, shut up. And it really plays into the fact that OnlyFans has never treated the majority of the people on their site as allies, as people they were with, and part of their team. So none of these people feel like they're on the team. All they get is a paycheck. And that's fine. For a lot of businesses, people do work for a paycheck, but they also get benefits from that. They get benefits from possibly health care or time off or different things. So people keep jobs they don't necessarily like because they're going to get some benefits. There's no benefits coming in from OnlyFans other than money. So people also, is just one other point before I go into the betrayal here, is that the people who responded at the bottom of this tweet, a lot of blue check marks, a lot of people with hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, and who knows millions elsewhere. These are the people who worked the hardest and are the highest achievers at something that was very hard to do. So as I go over time after time on this podcast, how hard marketing is, how hard promotion is, how hard getting up every single day and creating content is, how hard it is to stay on top. And what happened is that like any other system, the people who were successful stuck with OnlyFans. And these were the cream of the crop people who could basically do everything. These are talented individuals who could have worked anywhere else doing anything else, but they chose to work with OnlyFans. So when you're looking at people who've spent thousands of hours or hundreds of hours on OnlyFans, creating content, creating marketing, promoting, doing all the work they needed to be successful. And OnlyFans manages to not only disrespect the entire community, but the people at the very top who were really supporting the site, they treated them no different than they would treat anyone else. So you're talking about people with a lot of value that they've brought to OnlyFans. The top people. It's just shocking. Okay, so I will say this. This betrayal has been long in the making. Okay, I'm not going to debate why OnlyFans did this, but I am going to show the laziness involved in the decision. Okay, so I'm going to go over a list. So here are all the ways that the site betrayed us all. First, now OnlyFans came out and basically tried to tie this, and I did an episode a little bit ago explaining about stolen content and about how the site Pornhub had to make adjustments with MasterCard and banks because they had gotten themselves in trouble. And they got themselves in trouble because they had material on their website that couldn't be validated that those people wanted to be in those videos. Couldn't be validated that those people were 18 or older. And so they had to, remove them or lose their ability to take MasterCard. Now, OnlyFans announced this, and then MasterCard came out and talked to CNN and said, we did not ask OnlyFans to do this. And it's very simple, okay? What MasterCard asked was that they basically have all their creators fill out a form that validates that they want to be in these videos and pictures and that they